Welcome to another episode of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Giovanna Burgess-White, with my co-host,
Yvette Valdenegro.
Oh, and we're here on part 6. I can't believe it's the final part of our 6-part series on creating boundaries. If you haven't watched or listened to the first 5, go back. And if you're joining us for the 6th one, welcome back, because we're going to talk about your friends today. But before we jump in, just a little bit about us. If you don't know who we are, Yvette and I are relationship coaches, and we help you redesign the relationship you desire and deserve. And with our focus around women redesigning their marriage, recovery during or after divorce, and my personal favorite, rebalance with your business. So if there's any topics that you want to hear, or if you want to jump on a consultation with us, we do those for free, and we would love to start helping you redesign a relationship in your life.
Woohoo! So now we're on part 6, which has been such a great series, and we just hope that everybody's learned, just thought through their own personal boundaries and where they're at really with all those. And as we've been describing, it all starts with ourself with ourself, ourself with work, our boundaries with our partners, our boundaries with our kids, and last part 5 was just our boundaries with our extended family. So this today we're going to be talking about our boundaries with our friends, and I think this one's going to be interesting because I don't know about you, but I feel like when it comes to friends, I don't know, we put people in categories, but this one, along with our partners, can be very emotional
Yeah.
and feeling driven. It's all
Yep.
about how do I feel, and So I think it's going to be a really good topic because I think sometimes we don't know that we need to have boundaries, and then we wonder why we're in conflict, or there's just a lot of stress and strife in what are supposed to be our closest friends.
Yep. Before we get started, the boundaries, I want to talk about what a healthy boundary looks like. Healthy boundaries are key elements in your physical, mental, and emotional health. They look different in every relationship and may change over time. Super important. Boundaries change over time. Healthy boundaries involve communication of your wants and your needs in the relationship, as well as respecting the other person in that relationship. And not that we have these in order other than yourself first, but I think that once you make the list of the relationships that you want to prioritize in your life, I think we have a really hard time with family and friends, because sometimes those relationships kind of have to come to an end. And I think people think that endings are bad. Well, we're here to tell you that transitions and endings are not bad. Uh, that's an option for a reason. And I think once you clearly state your intentions, your purpose, your boundaries, and it's not reciprocated or met, then it's okay. Because as you know, growth is an actual thing. Some people love it, some people hate it. And most of the time, when relationships end, especially in friendships, it's because somebody is growing or changing and the other person doesn't like that. We see that a lot in what we do, especially with working with women. And don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you, it has everything to do with the other person. They may not see it that way, but that's the way it is. And that's okay for you to live the life that you're supposed to, for you to grow, and for you to end it. It's seasonal. And I know we go back and talk about like friends that you had in your childhood, and friends that you had in high school, and friends that you had in college, and friends that you had when you first got married. Like, not many people have the same friends their whole life. And if they do, it's because they've accepted the growth, the change, and there's been clear boundaries in that relationship. And I think that that's just part of being in a friendship and being in a relationship, is that you have to mutually respect one another.
Yeah, you use the word reciprocal. I
Mhm.
feel like this one is such a clear example as to if a friendship is not being reciprocal and you don't feel like what you're putting in is coming back to you, there's a reason why. And this is where most people go, but I give in the relationship and I don't get back. Or I went to go see them 10 times. They only came to see me once. I've been calling them. They don't call me. It really goes both ways. If that is how you want your friendships to be, it really does go both ways. And like we say, you really need to um, communicate this with the other person. But a friendship, more than anything, like you said, history, you may be with your partner, but you didn't grow up with your partner. You didn't go to school with your partner per se. You met them later on in life or whatever. But your friends that go through the thick and thin with you through life and they hear all the traumas and the dramas, they're the ones that know your personal history, but sometimes personal history can also be a hurdle or a boundary that you need to establish or work with because they do know you so well, which can be a positive thing and can also be a challenging thing, which again, you have to go back to personal boundaries because when people know something, when they know things about you that are very deep and personal, then sometimes people can use that to their advantage or disadvantage or use it to coerce you or make you feel a certain way or you personally feel a certain way. And all those things around it are like, okay, I need to figure out like what it is that I feel good about this relationship or setting these boundaries. Like, hey, that's an off topic. You can't bring that up. Or you can't talk about that when we're around other people. Or, people have loose, what I call loose lips. And if you have friends like that and that doesn't work for you, then you need to mention it and bring it up.
Yep. Yep. And again, I think with most of the relationships and the boundaries that we've set, I think people again have that fear of a relationship ending. And I think that we don't talk about it a lot. It's okay for that to happen. Like we're here to tell you that that's fine. We're going to have a bonus episode on your relationship with time. And it's really important that you go back and listen to the six um, parts, but go back to you. What do you want? What you relationships can you really handle when it comes down to like a lot of people want to please everybody, but you just can't. There's only so much of you to give, and you need to start really prioritizing. Except for some people that are listening or watching, like, oh my god, that sounds so selfish, but that's the real world that we live in. And you're only one person, and you can only do so much. And you don't want to live or have relationships that are in burnout, that you're always tired. I trust me, I've seen that. It's like giving and giving and giving, but are you really giving? And then you're not giving yourself anything. If anything, you're coming home and either always tired, not loving your life because you don't prioritize and you don't make that list. And also seasonal. And I think people don't realize that either. Like you don't. My best friends that I've had for years, like decades, I only see some of them like 2, 3 times a year, and that's okay because that they don't live here. We have our lives, so when we're together, and we spend that time. It's respect. We respect our time together. We're in the moments, and then I have other friends that I see once a week. So, but I've made that list and I've prioritized and I've calendar planned, and it's really important for people to do that. And then, even in the last part 5 is just you're going to have to communicate with all of these relationships. And if you don't want to do the work, then you need to go back and look at, okay, do I want to be in the relationship? Because it does take work, every single one of them. And we always put ourselves last. We always normally put our spouses last, and then it's always the business and the friends, So really look and prioritize in your life, like what's important to you, what are your top relationships, which ones are you willing to work on, and set those boundaries.
Yeah. As we say, look at yourself first, or like, what are you wanting in a boundary? I also think that this one's like we mentioned, who are you as a partner? Like you're putting these demands on your partner. Are you that person? Right? Same thing for friends. You want certain friends and you want certain behaviors from that friends, or you want to feel certain things from those friends, but are you truly being the friend that you first and foremost? Are you being the friend that you're seeking? Because if you can't even you yourself measure up to your own standards that you're putting out there for other people, then how are you expecting them to be that person as well? Which again isn't fair. But again, start with yourself. I think some things to just look out for, like if you're wondering, why do I feel this way? And are these healthy relationships or not? I just wrote a couple of them, but one of them would be, do you feel like when you're in that friendship that you're having to personally change to fit in? Which I think is very common. You find friends and or friend groups, and let's be real. I'm not talking, hey, when I'm hanging out with these friends, it seems like they're always wanting to talk about their kids. Or when I hang out with these friends, we're always, I don't mean that. I mean, do you feel like who you are inside, you're compromising in some way by continuing to be friends with that person and or a friend group? And that would probably give you a good indication that maybe that's not the healthiest friend group to be in, because there's friend groups that you will feel like, wow, I don't have to change or be or act like I'm something that I'm not. You should completely be yourself in these groups. Or are you being put in uncomfortable situations? Are people doing, being, or saying things that you don't agree with, or compromising your values, and or you're going places or doing things that you feel like there's something inside of you that just goes, I don't really like how I feel right now. This is not where I would want to be if I got to choose how I'm using my time right now. And I'm not saying it happens on a one off, right? I mean, like consistently over and over, you're going, I just don't like how I feel when I'm with these people. And then I think that this is so true. We are not our friends' therapists. There are professionals who do that. So if you have a friend that is consistently just seeking you for advice, or, oh my gosh, you're my 911 hotline. Every time something, I'm Hot Mess Express, you're the person I call all the time because you're a good listener, because you're sincere, because you really care. That's, again, we talk about the reciprocal. That is not a relationship that goes both ways. That's someone taking. So those are like little things you go, okay, yeah, I do have relationships like that that probably aren't. And again, it's like you said, seasonal. Someone might be going through something. It's like, hey, for a week or two, I was really down and out and I really needed support. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, consistently every single time you check in with them, or they're calling you at 11 o'clock at night, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, consistently with the same thing over and over. But yet when you go, hey, I really need you, can you do this? They're not around. That's probably not a healthy relationship, and you haven't established your own personal boundaries or made the decision, is this really something that I really want to be, or a person I really want to be involved with? And we always say this, it's okay to say, no, not really, because life changes. I've changed, they've changed, and this really isn't serving me anymore. And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to come back with a bonus episode on time. If we've hoped that this mini series has helped you, if you want to join us for a complimentary virtual connect, you can press the link anywhere you're watching or listening. Connect with us. We would love to help you. And really, we just hope that we helped you start thinking about the relationships that matter most and start spending some time on creating those boundaries, because it's really important. We only have one life to live, and I think it's important the people that you surround yourself with and spend your time with. So until
Yes,
next time.
and you're not stuck. So for any of these topics that we talked about, any of these boundaries that you're like, you do not have to, it's a choice. It is 100% a choice. If you feel like, wow, any of these have just resonated with you and you're like, I don't like how I feel inside, you actually have the ability to make a difference. You're not stuck where you are at all.
Nope. Well, thank you again for watching. If you're watching live, if you're listening on the replay, again, we're here to help you. You can put anything in the comments or in the chat and we will answer back. And if not, you can DM us or you can email us. Until next time, bye.
Bye.